Tell him, McCluskey. Tell him what time it is.
Little Hen says it's time to rock and roll.
All you people are so scared of me.
Come quietly or there will be trouble.
Man, that's just me.
I'm Batman.
This is Sparta!
There is a tiger in the bathroom!
I'm an excellent driver.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Pop quiz, hot shot.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
J7.
Hit. A hit. You have sunk my battleship.
Excellent! Yeah!
Hello and welcome to this week's Monday Movie Show. Yes, we're live on a Tuesday again. The show, we should just be called the Movie Show from now on, to be honest.
Yeah, but it's not my fault this time.
Well, I could have actually done it on Tuesday because things changed at the last minute. So what I was originally going to be doing, I'm sorry, we could have done it on Monday. What I was originally going to be doing last night, I'm now doing tomorrow night. So that's if everybody's listening live, which is the 14th of April at 20 to 9. Even though we were supposed to go live at 8 o'clock, and then you got things mixed up, and we were supposed to go live at 8:30.
That was a little bit my miss up because we normally do 8 on a Monday, and I took it to be 8 again. Sorry, 8:30 on Monday, so I take it to be 8:30 tonight, and yeah.
So yeah, long story short, I could have been free last night, and things got changed at the last moment. So now I'm doing what I was supposed to do last night on Wednesday night instead. Like people actually care. They're here for movies, actually, aren't they? They're here for movies. And this week in the cinema section, we're looking at 6 films. They include...
we have the return of Keanu Reeves to the action genre in John Wick. We have the sequel to Hot Tub Time Machine, funnily enough titled Hot Tub Time Machine 2. We have the directorial debut of Ryan Gosling in Lost River. We have another sequel comedy with Paul Blart, Mall Cop 2. We have a drama with Women in Gold, and we have even more drama with Good Kill.
Yeah, and how unlucky am I, because I was the one who had to review Hot Tub Time Machine 2, and also Paul Blart Mall Cop 2.
Yeah.
Joyful.
Well, that's down to, as well, that's not even my fault again, is it? It's down to your cinemas, the ones near you, because they weren't showing Women in Gold.
Yeah, but still, getting those two, if I could swear, I would be bleeping out of me right at this moment in time. And on Blu-ray and DVD, we're looking at 5 films. They include...
We have possibly last, but I doubt it, movie in the Night at the Museum series, Secret of the Tomb. We have a indie sci-fi flick in The Signal. We have a sort of indie comedy in What We Do in the Shadows. We have another indie film, I suppose, with horror in The Pyramid. And then we have a slightly smaller British film with Black Sea.
And we round things off with our TV movie of the week and our movie of the week. And also we have our top 10s in box office and Blu-ray and DVD and some movie news. But make sure you check out the website, mondaymovieshow.co.uk. You can get in contact with us on Facebook at facebook.com/Monday Movie Show, and also on Twitter at Monday Movie Show. I'm on there at Cryptic Tadpole. Andrew's on there at EHDVD. So with all that out of the way with, let's kick off with some movie news.
Yeah, the only piece of news I have this evening is that, according to the website, The Wrap, director Michelle McLaren has left the Wonder Woman project, the movie which is going to be a spin-off from the upcoming Batman vs Superman movie, which starred Gal Gadot in the actual role. She's already played it in that film. Will still be going ahead, but due to creative differences, the director has now left it, and they are now looking for a replacement.
It's always creative differences, isn't it?
It is. It's an old friend, reason why someone left. Oh, it's creative differences. It basically means that somewhere along the line they didn't get on.
Yeah, well, why don't they just be straightforward and go, yep, there was a big argument about what we were creating and we had to let her go. But no, it's creative differences.
Well, thing is, this isn't the first time you've ever heard of a problem with someone leaving because of that. And even recently, given again comic book films, we had Edgar Wright left Ant-Man over creative differences, which is supposedly due to the version that he wanted to do and the version that Marvel wanted to do. So this is DC, which is the opposite. And it's a similar kind of thing. You don't know exactly what it is, but I would guess it's probably something along those lines, or something that they wanted to do time-wise maybe, or something like that the director felt they couldn't do it. And because of that, directors left the project. So I'm interested to see how Ant-Man turns out. There's just been a recent release of a new trailer for it,
which is awful.
I think it looks pretty amazing.
I think it looks pretty terrible. It looks Land of the Giants turned into a movie.
See, I don't know about that, but it's got that aspect to it. But I think that it looks really good, and I'm looking forward to it. And I'm curious to see how it's going to come out, because it's the first one that we know of that's had major problems since probably The Incredible Hulk, which had problems because of apparently Edward Norton being very sort of bossy about which version of the film was going to get released.
Probably Ant-Man might actually be the first Marvel film, even though I'm not a big comic book fan, that I don't go and see on release day. Because honestly, it looks ridiculously Yep, I'm going to stop there. My news. Brad Bird has confirmed that he's begun writing the script for The Incredibles 2.
Woo!
Yeah, they're short and sweet. The news that I've written down this week is pretty short and sweet. It's very straight to the point, because they just explain themselves with their opening sentence. What more do you need to hear? Brad Bird, Incredibles 2.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm really glad about that, because this is of all the Pixar films that have been, and any sort of chance of sequels coming along, this is the one that I want. This is the one I want them to do a sequel to. I know it's the thing, you're probably going to be, it's another superhero thing, but it's one that I've really wanted to do, so to see. So it's one I was looking forward to, and now they've announced it. I'm really looking forward to it. The only thing is now I've got to wait.
Yeah, the thing what I'm excited about is I was having a conversation on the horror show from Page 2 Scream about directors who like to sort of like stay in the background. They're not bothered about the limelight. So you've got directors who will always be out there and constantly promote their films and go on these TV programs and do interviews, etc. But then you've got a few directors who prefer to just stay in the background. And Drew Goddard, who's wrote the new Daredevil TV series. I think he's one of those directors who does that. Because if you look at Cabin in the Woods, it was people thought it was all Joss Whedon, when in fact it was Drew Goddard who directed it. You look at Cloverfield, and people are going J.J. Abrams, when in fact it was Drew Goddard. So Drew Goddard is sort of like in the background, and Brad Bird is exactly the same. He doesn't seem like one of those people who would go on chat shows and constantly talk about his films. Because you look at Tomorrowland, and it looks a really good, interesting film, that. And I think that's what's so good about Brad Bird. He concentrates on the movies what he wants to create, and the movies that he's done are really good. So he's got a good track record.
He's a very, I said this before with Brad Bird, he is a very visual director, so I can imagine he's also a very visual, mentally writer, that he will write things that will not only be exciting, but will be great to look at. He'll set up things in the script that I think will be really good.
Yeah. Next piece of news is Warner Brothers has reportedly held preliminary talks with James Wan to direct the Aquaman movie.
I heard about this. That I didn't know for definite, but I heard that there were rumours that he had potentially been talked with, because there was rumours about this after Fast and Furious that he would maybe do this. So I'm not surprised, but I don't know. I don't know. Do you want him to go straight into superhero? He kind of did that with Fast and Furious. Yeah,
he did. Everybody knows James Wan as horror director because he is doing The Conjuring 2. Yeah. So he is going back to horror with that. And the fact that he was given carte blanche, he was said that he's now sort of like what Joss Whedon is with any of the Marvel films. He's going to maybe be on set to help out a director. And he probably is going to have some like production duty on the next two Avengers films, because the Russo brothers are going to be the ones who are going to be directing them. So he's probably going to be involved somewhere. And so James Wan is going to be the case with horror films. And so he's looking at different areas to explore, and he's done the action movie, so maybe he thinks that he could tackle a comic book film. You never know. Be interesting to see how he handles the drama.
Yeah, it's true, but I as much as I've seen him do one film, I've not seen his horror films. I'm not into horror films, but he did good with action. I just want to see, because the thing is with Fast and Furious, or Furious 7 as they call it, it was a film that obviously suffered an issue with the death of Paul Walker, and then that caused things. I agree, he's done a great job with that, but I'd like to see obviously what he does with a film, because that meant that he had to deal with all that as well, and the problems with that, and then getting it made. And he did a really good job. I just want to see what he does with a normal film, because there are other pressures that he may not have had because of that.
I think James Wan is a bit of a minimal budget director. I think he handles his budget brilliantly if he's given a small budget. The most budget prior to Fast and Furious 7 was on The Conjuring, which was around about $20 million budget. And that was his biggest budget he was ever given for a film. And I think if you look at his previous back catalogue, everything from Death Sentence to Dead Silence to the original Saw movie, those movies cost less than $5 million each to make. Yeah. So I think he's better at handling movies like that. And we'll see how he can handle again, another movie where the budget is going to be... I don't think it'll be higher than Fast and Furious 7, because I don't think Marvel will be interested in putting that much money into Aquaman. So
DC.
We'll see. DC, sorry. I'm going to get Marvel hate now and DC hate. I don't care. You both suck. Happy.
Final.
Well, it's evened it out there, so at least I've said both of them suck. Last piece of news, what I've got is the Gremlins reboot has hired a new writer in the form of Carl Ellsworth. Ellsworth has previously worked on Disturbia and the remakes of Red Dawn and Last House on the Left.
Okay, Disturbia was fairly good. It did do a good thing of kind of updating Rear Window, which it did a good job on, and surprisingly got a decent performance out of Shia LaBeouf. Even though it was a teenage, horrible, pimply Shia LaBeouf, it was actually okay. But the Red Dawn remake, as much as I enjoyed it, is quite terrible.
Very terrible.
Yeah, so it's a question of, I mean, can he write, or is it that during those films then something was changed during the making of it, and we don't know, because that can always happen, but it's not a great indication.
Yeah, all I'll say here is with The Last House on the Left, if somebody writes a death scene which involves a microwave, I don't think you've got an interesting writer there.
So you just talking about microwave, you talking about Daredevil earlier. There was a great scene in the fight when there was a microwave used. I genuinely burst out laughing.
I was going to say, don't spoil it. I've only seen the first 2 episodes of it. I know me actually getting past it.
It's in the second episode.
Okay, then that shows how much I was paying attention. But me actually watching 2 episodes of a new TV series, I normally quit after 1.
You quit after 2 this time?
No, I'm actually going to still watch it when I can be bothered to. Box office top 10. Now, the new box office top 10 has been released. It hasn't been put up on the site. It will go up on the site if you're listening to us live on Wednesday, as usual. So we will be skipping through a few of these movies. But at number 10 is the Divergent series Insurgent,
which is a perfectly fine sequel, but not as good as the first one. It has its issues. Not only the issues that it has from being the middle book of 3, but just like the Hunger Games films, but I think that it has a lot more problems that it's been streamlined for action. I enjoyed it, but I think it really does pale in comparison to the first film, which I really did love.
Yeah, at number 9 is Get Hard,
which is not really funny at all. It has a couple of moments, but it's a typical kind of comedy that you're getting now, or as I say, comedy in quotation marks. If you could see me, I would be doing air marks, and it's not fun. It's not good. It's Kevin Hart being annoying again, and it's Will Ferrell doing the white man crying on screen thing. Do something different.
Yeah, I'll quickly get through the next 3 because they are films we're reviewing tonight. So at number 8 is a new entry for Paul Blart Mall Cop 2, and number 7 is a new entry for Woman in Gold, and at number 6 is a new entry for John Wick. So it shows you how much films were out this week. There's a couple of films which isn't even in the top 10, which we are reviewing also, which are Lost River, Hot Tub Time Machine 2, and Good Kill, which they both failed miserably to get over 100,000. So into the films we have seen, and at number 5 is the SpongeBob SquarePants movie, Sponge Out of Water,
which I haven't seen.
Good, it's a good job that I have then. It's if you watch the first 70 minutes of it and you're a huge fan of the SpongeBob SquarePants TV series, you'll love it. After that, it becomes a bit bad, to be honest, because the live action stuff doesn't work. Antonio Banderas plays a pirate, and at the start of the film he reads a story about the thing that's happening in Bikini Bottom, which is where SpongeBob SquarePants lives, and the fact that the secret Krabby Patty recipe has gone missing. And they travel through time, and there's a talking dolphin with a laser beam on his head, there's bondage crabs, there's just... It is really weird for the first 70 minutes. Like I said, when it gets to live action stuff, it just loses its way. At number 4 is a new entry for The Duff.
Now, we haven't seen this. We aren't reviewing it this week, even though if we'd had a chance, we would have. Even though it did technically come out last week, it was released last Monday. It was given a very weird release date. And this looks like the typical kind of teen, girl that's the outsider is then helped to become, popular sort of thing. And, I mean, it's doing well because it is sort of hitting its target demographic. It's not done brilliantly, but it's done okay. But it looks very generic. Whether or not it's any good, I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully we'll find out sometime, but if not, then maybe Stuart will have to review it on DVD.
No. If you took out the takings that it's taken from Bank Holiday Monday up to its supposed release date of the Friday, it would have actually gone in at number 9, not number 4. And number 3 is Home.
Which is, I think, nothing against the animation of it, but overall, being DreamWorks animation, it's, for me, the weakest DreamWorks animation that has been made so far. It doesn't do justice to the other ones. You've got Shrek, the How to Train Your Dragon films, and even, as much as I wasn't a great fan of it, I think that Rise of the Guardians was a better animation film. I don't dislike it, I just found it very tiresome, very plain, and nowhere near as fun, intelligent, or funny as it thinks it is.
Yeah, no, I thought it was okay. Number 2 was Cinderella.
I've still not seen this one either.
Oh, good. You're on form, aren't you?
Yeah.
You're really on form. Yeah, that's still no excuse considering that I had to handle the show on my own last week. But Cinderella, I just thought it was a bit of a lazy movie. The fact that it is a complete retelling of the original Disney Cinderella, and it does do a few little things differently, but predominantly for the rest of the film, it's exactly the same thing we've seen before. And it's just really lazy to do a movie like that. Cate Blanchett is the standout of the movie because she plays a sort of like very 1940s kind of actress, the ones who wear those big hats and these tight, interesting dresses, and she loves the role that she's embodying of the evil stepmother, and you sort of slightly feel sorry for her considering how her life's gone. And it was nice for the director to explore that one, Kenneth Branagh, to explore that part, but that's probably the only new part about it, and the film is just lacking. And at number 1, no surprise, still there, taking £26 million just at the UK box office, and over $800 million at the worldwide box office in about 10 days, is Fast and Furious 7.
Yeah, which you can't fault that. It is, we were talking about James Wan, who did a fantastic job with it. It's his first stint in the movies franchise after being done by Justin Lin for the past 4 films. 4 films. And the thing is, he does an admirable and good job. Not a great job, but a good job. He does take it a little bit sort of out of the to the kind of the ridiculous level quite a bit in certain parts of it. But the thing is that it's a worthy, fun sequel. It's completely ridiculous. It's completely bonkers. You're watching it all the way through and you're going, this is insane. But are you bored? No, you're loving it. You enjoy it. I absolutely loved it. I had so much fun with it. And I like the series, and I like that, as well as there being the issue of it being done with as a way to sort of wrap up the story with Paul Walker's character and his departure from his death. It's a really good sort of admirable job, and I think it's not perfect. It's not the best in the franchise. It's still Fast 5, but it's a worthy sequel, and it's definitely getting its plaudits at the box office, taking that much.
Yeah, like I said last week, it has structural problems in the fact that James Wan doesn't know how to handle the different story strands. He doesn't know how to make them coherent. The action set pieces are just, he's having a lot of fun. It's like a kid in a candy store when it comes to them, and they are completely bonkers, some of them. If you just look at the car which jumps between 3 buildings, it's insanity, that set piece. So he's loving them. It's just until the last 25 minutes when he realises how to tie each one of the characters together to make a coherent storyline, because the last 30 minutes of the film is just one big massive set piece. And it works then, but the rest of the film, he's just find it really difficult because he's trying to give each one of the characters their due course with their plots, and it feels a bit messy. So that's the fault with the film, but you can't fault how popcorn the movie is, because the movie is ultimate popcorn fodder.
It's the most popcorn out of all the films so far, I think, but you can't kind of blame it. I mean, it is them trying to do bigger is better, which doesn't always work and isn't entirely true, but it gets away with that. You give it a pass for that in this film.
Because of the action set pieces being so entertaining. If they were slightly dull, then you would have said, no, this is a failure of a film. But because the action set pieces have enough of the bang wallop stuff that you expect from those kind of scenes, it distracts away slightly from its misgivings.
You can even forgive the really clunky, cheesy lines of dialogue that The Rock has in it.
But I think we're completely used to that now. So, right, on to the first review of the night.
John Wick, which is a movie that's taken quite a while to come out here. It is a film that's the first time to see Keanu Reeves back in the screen in leading man role after the disastrous performance of 47 Ronin last year. And that was a film which I thought he was fine in. I thought it was perfectly fine. It wasn't great, but it got a very lot of sort of bad performance. A lot of people hated it. Here we have him playing a man who we're introduced to at the very early in the film. He's living his life after his wife's passed away. He's got a dog that she's left him. He's looking after that. Things seem to be going fine for him and all, and as dark as that is for him. And then it turns out one day he's just in the wrong place, wrong time, driving his car where these guys there that are sort of are Russian gangsters, sort of related to the Russian mob, see his car, decide they want it. He turns them down when they try to offer to buy it from him. And they break in, steal it, and beat him up and kill his dog. That's not a spoiler. That's early on in the film. That's what happens. That is the setup. The reason that that's kind of notable and bad is because of the fact that it turns out that, well, John Wick isn't a normal guy. John Wick used to be, well, an assassin for the mob, and retired because of the circumstances of meeting women that he loved, and because of all those things happening and the dog now being killed. It basically brings him out of retirement in basically basically in revenge mode. Here's a clip.
Vigo. Yeah. When Helen died, I lost everything. Until that dog arrived on my doorstep. A final gift from my wife. In that moment, I received some semblance of hope. An opportunity to grieve unalone. And your son took that from me. Stole that from me. Killed that from me! People keep asking if I'm back, and I haven't really had an answer. But now, I'm thinking I'm back. So you can either hand over your son, or you can die screaming alongside him!
So, here's the thing with John Wick. It is a film that, if you go into it whether you're expecting a lot or not, you will probably be entertained. I don't know that you'll love it. I don't know that you'll get really into it. I didn't. I found it was okay. I thought it was technically proficient, is what I would say. I didn't really love it. I didn't really get into it. I did get there's kind of more to it emotionally for Keanu Reeves as a performance, and if you know the issue with Keanu Reeves and things in his personal life that he's had problems with, that this kind of relates to him, which I get probably why he did it, why he's done the film, and why it does kind of speak to him. And that, I think, actually helps him in his performance, because he's good in the film. There's nothing wrong with his performance. He's perfectly fine there. He's not fantastic, but he's perfectly, you buy him in the role. The thing I just found with it is that I honestly got to a point sometimes where I just found, as much as we're talking about ridiculous action scenes in things like Fast and Furious 7, I found some of the action in this it went on too long. I started getting bored, and that is a symptom of basically there being too much action and not much else, and that's where it has a problem. It doesn't have a balance between having a story, which it really doesn't. It is, though, I mean, if you don't have to have a story, but you need to have something there, and I just found I wanted more. I didn't dislike it. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it, but I was entertained. I wasn't disappointed, but I kind of was a little bit afterwards, going, yeah, okay, plenty of sweets, but I want meat and potato.
Okay, that's a bit of an interesting analogy, mixing sweet with meat and potato.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can have so many sweets and then you just have enough. It literally is like that. You know, if this film was a diet, I would have cavities after just watching it.
Okay, it's not that sugary. Sugary would indicate if you're watching something like The Duff or Cinderella or something like that. John Wick, I would definitely not see as sugary at all. So
wouldn't The Duff probably be something like cheese?
But it's cheesy, sugary kind of movies. It's like a cheesecake. So
I mean, the thing is with this, there's moments in it where I wanted something else. It just goes action, action, action. I wanted, humour. I didn't get any humour. There was nothing in it to break it up. It just became monotonous action, and that's not good.
I wouldn't say that. I think the film is dark. It's a very dark film, and it is nice for Keanu Reeves to do something much better than the terrible 47 Ronin, which these fantasy movies I've said in the past I have a problem with, because they're trying to be movies from like the 60s and 70s and fail miserably because they don't get the heart of those kind of films. So it was nice for him to see him in a different light, see him in a darker light, because by the looks of things his next movie might be Bill and Ted. So it's another complete departure on that front. So it was nice to see him in a movie like this. I saw this a while ago, and so it was hard to actually remember it. So that might actually be a bit of a negative against the film. It is a difficult film to try and remember about it after you've seen it. And forgettable movies is not a good thing. It's that middle of the road thing. When I've always said it, it's really easy to review a brilliant film. It's really easy to review a terrible film. It's hard to review an average movie, because a movie should never fall into the average area. You should never say, this movie was fine, because you just feel like it's lacking anything to try and bring it alive.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's fine, but I mean, the one thing I will give it definitely for it is it was a film that I think I read something about it being made for about $10 million. That's not a lot, and it looks like a lot more than that on screen. But I just, it just needed more. I just found it, inject a little humour here or there to break it up, because then you just get action. You need tension, and then you need something to break the tension, and this didn't have it. I couldn't get with it.
Yeah, well, I liked it. It's anything special, but I liked it.
Yeah, I don't get me wrong, I liked it, but I just didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I just very sadly nothinged it. I didn't nothing it, and it's like I completely forget about it. But it does have, thinking back now to it, I only just recently watched it, and it's literally a case of I can remember bits of it. I can't remember the whole thing. And you're right. I mean, that's not a good thing.
Right, time to move on with Hot Tub Time Machine 2. Actually, no, let's go back to John Wick instead. Hot Tub Time Machine 2, the sequel to the movie where people are going, what was the point? Because in Hot Tub Time Machine 2, they decided to drop their lead character in the first one, and in this one, they concentrate on the character of Lou, who was sort of like a lovable guy in the first one, misunderstood, but he was sort of like lovable. And in this one, it starts off where he's got a load of money and he's obnoxious beyond belief. He makes sure he makes sure that people know how obnoxious and over the top he is, because he thinks he can get away with absolutely everything. He's friends with Craig Robinson's character, who plays Nick, and his son Clark Duke, who plays Jacob. And yeah, he treats his son like a butler as well. An incident happens where he gets shot in an area where a man should never be shot. And so while bleeding out, they decide to use the hot tub, which they didn't realise that one of them kept, to go back in time to try and stop the gunman from shooting Lou into that painful area. However, instead of them going back in time, they stupidly go forward in time, which ends up being back in time, where they run into Adam Scott's character, who plays Adam Jr. in the movie. Yeah, bit of a head scratcher when it comes to the plot part there. And in the future, they're trying to help Adam Scott's character because he's going to be married. And yeah, here's a clip.
We went 10 years into the future.
I'm distinguished.
I should shave this, right?
Yeah, that's not a good look.
This is so smooth. I don't think I went bald. I think this is a choice, like a Andre Agassi or Bruce Willis or something.
You don't look anything like either of those two people. For one, they're fit and handsome, and you are neither of those things.
You look like a turtle crawled out of a shell.
You look like you give lectures on public access.
You look like a grown-up Gerber baby.
You look like an egg gave birth to another egg.
You look like Gandalf the Poor.
You look like you advised Lando Calrissian.
That's a good one.
You look like the guy that owns the one house that ruins the whole street.
You look like you've never made a correct decision.
Ever. I gotta admit, I kind of like this.
I want to hit you into the corner pocket.
Now, here's the thing with Hot Tub Time Machine 2. I've not seen Get Hard, and from what I've been hearing about Get Hard, it's just stupidly over the top, and how bad it is misogynistic, and how bad it is with homosexuality and all that kind of stuff, how much it takes the mickey out of that thing. And so I've not seen it, but that's the indication that I get from that film. Yeah, this trumps this easily, because this movie is terrible beyond belief. There's no wonder that this movie has failed to get anywhere near the box office top 10, because if it did, it would have infected it with the worst kind of disease possible, and that is the Keith Lemon movie 43 disease. There are vials of poison that's kept in vaults that is even more secure than Fort Knox. They are that bad, and Hot Tub Time Machine is knocking on the door to be let in, because it is really misogynistic, it's really homophobic, it's beyond non-funny. The jokes fall flat, just every single one of them. Nothing is funny about this movie. Every single one of the characters is annoying, really badly annoying as well. Lou especially. He was supposed to be the likeable character in the first one, and in this thing, I think they just thought, it'll be a good idea, let's just flip him on his head and make him just obnoxious beyond belief. They've gone and succeeded on that front, but they've gone too far even with that. A lot of jokes make fun out of people who are geeks. There is one joke where they sing a song to Jacob's character every single time he mentions the TV series Fringe, and they call him a nerd, and they drop swears in that, and they make homosexual jokes against him because he likes programs like Fringe. I'm a huge Fringe fan. So when you anger people who are reviewing your film, or people who are watching the film, because when they're fans of something that they're taking the mick out of, it's not a good thing. And I would have let it go if it was by creators who I sort of like appreciate their humour. So if this was done by Matt Stone and Trey Parker, and they took the mick out of Fringe, I would give them carte blanche, because I love them, because they understand that they're taking the mickey out of it, because they just want to make an interesting, funny joke. Whereas the director with this one is just going, yeah, I'm just going to take the mickey out of it because I don't care, to be honest. It's beyond atrocious. It's horrendously bad. Let's just say I'm reviewing another comedy, and that one is Citizen Kane compared to Hot Tub Time Machine 2. Worst film of the year so far for me.
I haven't seen it, but I hear that it's not good. And the thing is, I actually want to ask, because in trying to get something together for the beginning of the show, I was trying to get a clip for Hot Tub Time Machine that would be appropriate to play on the show, but I couldn't find any, because there's just so much pervasively bad language throughout any single clips. It would just be bleeping all the way through it. So I just want to ask, is this just as bad for all the swearing? Is it literally every second word is like a swear word?
This is worse than The Hangover Part 2.
But for swearing?
Just for everything. Simple as that.
Lost River, which is the movie written by and directed by Ryan Gosling, his first film that he's written and directed. It is a movie which follows the main character of Billy, played by Christina Hendricks, and her son Bones, played by Ian DeCastica, who sort of she's living in a house with her son, and also she's got another couple of kids there. It's in a place where there are houses that are being torn down for demolition. It's all sort of it's one of these areas where everything's sort of fallen apart and no one really lives there anymore. He's walking around in between sort of all the buildings and ripping off bits of copper to make some sort of extra money and make ends meet. She is trying to sort out issues she's got with the bank with a loan, and end up having to take a job from the guy who works at the bank, played by Ben Mendelsohn, who also runs a kind of a sort of a fetish club on the side, and sort of offers her a job there which will help her to be able to pay the bills. You have in the mix as well are several other characters, including you have Bully, played by Matt Smith, who is kind of he kind of is not a sort of a gangster, but he hangs around in the local area, and he lays claim to all the copper and everything like that, which means that Bones has to sort of avoid him and not be there because he knows that he's out for him. And also you have Rat, who is the girl sort of living next door, played by Saoirse Ronan, who is nicknamed Rat because of the fact she has a pet rat. I don't have a clip for it because none of the clips I could find would really work for it. And the thing is with it's a film that... Right, let me put it this way. Ryan Gosling has got a sense of style and a sense of visual style, and you can see that there is sort of a visual sense that he wants to put through. The problem is that he doesn't really have much of a story for his film. He in fact has very little and has very little characters. It's more of he's trying to do something that's very different. He's trying to be something very much like David Lynch would do, and I'm not a big fan of David Lynch, I have to admit, but I found that this stood out to me as being a very Lynch-like, but very Lynch imitating. It wants to be very odd. The look of it is very odd. The way it's sort of structured for what very simple story it has is very odd, and the way that it follows the characters, which is very non sequiturs. There's parts in it where you honestly, especially early on, I found myself questioning if I was watching it and really paying attention, because it just didn't seem to be going anywhere. It didn't have a clue to me what it was doing, and it still didn't by the end of the film. It got it a little bit together, but the problem I have with it is that it seems to be very existential for the sake of being existential. It doesn't seem to have a point to it. It seems to be that it's just trying to be weird in order to just be weird and to just get you on the back foot. So I think that Ryan Gosling has got the skill to be a director. I don't know that he's got the skill to write a story and bring it to the screen. I don't know if maybe he needs to work on writing a bit more, or if he needs to work on, maybe direct someone else's script, or, focus on one or the other. Don't go straight into doing both because he's struggling with it. And the thing is, it just ultimately, in the end, you come out literally going, what the heck did I just watch for the last hour and a half? And I honestly hated it. And I don't say that lightly, because I like Ryan Gosling. I wanted this to be good. I wanted to enjoy it. I was hoping that he would have learned something, especially from Nicholas Winding Refn, who he did the last two films that he acted in with Drive, which is a film that I absolutely love. It is one of my favourite films, and even not so great as it is, but the Only God Forgives is a film that's very weird, but it has something to it, a quality to it that is missing it. Yes, it does.
No, it isn't. It's awful.
It does. It's not awful. I can say that if you thought that Only God Forgives was awful, you will really, really hate this. I didn't hate it, but I honestly was just. I came out of it at the end after watching it, and I was just like, really, such a horrible mess. I didn't hate it. I should have hated it, but I like some of the ideas. I just thought it was very poorly implemented.
It's just by the sense of it, it is Gosling looking at people like Lars von Trier, Terrence Malick, like you said, Nicholas Winding Refn, and thinking to himself, I can do this.
The thing is,
but he has to realise though that those are directors only. They're not stars. They're directors who have directed more than one film. They've managed to hone their craft over a period of years. David Lynch especially, he hasn't released a good film in quite a few years, but he has honed his craft, and he's been able to create they've been able to create these weird films, even though we might not like most of their films, Terrence Malick especially. But you might look at their films and think they know how to handle the strangeness. They know how to interleave supposed a coherent storyline through it to make it feel like sense to a lot of people. By the sounds of things, that's what Gosling was attempting, but he can't handle it because he's attempting too much for his first film. Yeah,
it is. It is almost like he's been overwhelmed. I mean, because the thing is, he has got a great cast in there. I mean, Christina Hendricks is the thing is, Christina Hendricks is perfectly fine. She's not fantastic in it, and I don't think that's down to her. Ian DeCastica is better than I think I've seen him in anything, because the only thing really seen him in is the Marvel series, and you'd seen him in I forget what the name is, but there was a film that he was in.
Fear.
In Fear, yeah. And I don't know. I mean, what he was like in that, but in this, the thing is, it's like he's looking to be given more to do. He doesn't really have much to do. Saoirse Ronan doesn't really have much to do either, but she's given sort of, it's kind of like concentrated with her. So she has very small scenes, but she has more power in those scenes than anyone else does in their films, in their scenes in the whole film. Matt Smith is probably the big surprise one, because anyone who's seen him just knows him largely as Doctor Who. And in this, he's a very horrible character and a very messed up character. And then also you got the great Ben Mendelsohn, who I don't think I've seen in anything, and as much as I've seen him give bad performance because he's been trying to give bad performance, I think he's a great actor when he's given a good thing, and he's kind of given something to do here, but it doesn't quite work. And then you've got Ava Mendes, who I honestly wonder how she got to be in there and why she's there. But again, it's not really down to her. It's down to the story, the lack of, and the structure, and it just doesn't work.
Right, on to our next film then, which is Paul Blart Mall Cop 2, the second of my comedy brilliant double bill that I have been lovingly given. It stars Kevin James, who plays Paul Blart, and it's set 6 years after, I was going to say after the incidents that happened in the first film, but you wouldn't even call the first film incidents. So he is a mall cop. At the start of the film, he's living with his daughter. He's 60 years married, but his wife decides to leave him because she has a change of heart. His mother gets killed by being run over by an ice cream truck. And so obviously he's downtrodden and downbeaten until he gets a letter one day to say that he's been invited to a vacation in Vegas, to this seminar where a lot of cops from malls come to it and discuss a few things and have a look at over the latest gadgets and things like that they can get. However, his daughter has also been accepted into UCLA, but she wants to keep that a secret. She wants to be with her father feeling lonely. So they both decide to pack themselves off, go to Vegas, and enjoy the holiday that happens. However, while in Vegas, they need to have a plot point where it involves something else. We can't just have a police academy again. So in this case, it is art thieves who are trying to steal the 12 most valuable items in Las Vegas, with the most lacking security ever known in a huge, massive hotel area, which has got the most expensive art ever. So it's just pointless having security there. Here's a clip which is a little conversation between father and daughter, and how much he's sort of like still looking over his daughter.
I gotta get going.
Oh, whoa. Okay. Thanks for telling me Victoria's Secret. What do you think you're wearing, young lady?
A bathing suit?
Maybe for an elf. Decorum. Decorum.
I was just going to hang out by the pool.
Yeah, well, not in that you're not.
Fine. Then I'm going exploring.
Hold up. You got your extra phone battery?
Yes.
Flashlight?
Always.
Hot pepper spray?
Check.
Pocket knife, keychain, window smasher?
I do.
Baby road flares.
Yes, I've got it all.
Hold on a second here. There. I've set it to monitor so I can hear everything that's going on.
Oh, no, wait. I already feel like a SWAT unit.
Security is a mission, not an intermission.
Now, when I went to see Paul Blart Mall Cop 2, it was on a Saturday, so you might expect that the cinemas to have quite a few people in. The screening that I went to see in, there was myself and a family of 3. A mother, father and daughter. And out of everybody who laughed, it was the mother. 3 jokes, and there are silly jokes when Paul Blart gets hit. And that's the only times anybody laughs. So you can see how unfunny this movie is. The way Paul Blart speaks, in the clip there, you heard it. He sort of like thinks that he's slightly high and mighty. He thinks that he's the ultimate mall cop person. He is the ultimate person who should be more of like a proper cop or a proper security guard. And that's brought to him in the film itself when one of the security guards who works at the hotel keeps saying, "What do you think you are, a proper cop?" Yet he can't even do his job properly at all. And so it's lacking on the thing that it should have, and that's humour. None of the jokes are funny. It's just the typical big fat guy falling over, big fat guy getting hit. and he thinks that he's got superpowers. The way he acts, the way he goes around, the way he's indestructible in the movie. No matter what's getting shot at him, he just never gets hit, never gets hurt. It's just unbelievable, and the movie is lacking any coherence, any humour, just anything. It's completely mundane. It is really a mundane comedy. It's much better than Hot Tub Time Machine 2, because at least it's not offensive, but it's very mundane and boring.
I'm kind of curious because I don't really like Kevin James's films. I've not seen anything with him in it except for Here Comes the Boom. Was the only film of his that I actually found enjoyable, and not only that, quite funny as well. And so it's a shame that he's found that he can do something, but then just gone back to doing a straight sequel to something that is basically just sounds like an Adam Sandler clone.
Because it is released by Adam Sandler's company. Yeah. So anything that Adam Sandler touches turns to the worst putrid thing ever imaginable. Pixels looks slight little exception. So that, yeah, he's got another film out this year as well, Adam Sandler, apart from Pixels.
Yeah. Well, I don't know who will be reviewing that.
You. I've done two horrendously horrible movies. So this week, so you're doing the next two Adam Sandler films.
Okay, well, the other film that you were going to see, and I was going to do Paul Blart Mall Cop 2, but I had to see instead because I could see it and you couldn't, basically, is Women in Gold. It is directed by Simon Curtis. It is the true story of a woman who, after having sort of had to flee Nazi-occupied Austria during the war, now in sort of, well, not present day, but in the sort of 1990s, raises a claim against artwork that was taken from her family, and this art restitution thing that went on at that time with the Austrian government. And she raises this through a friend of hers who is basically got her friend has a son played by Ryan Reynolds, who is a now sort of not successful lawyer, but someone who's passed the bar. He's went to do his own business thing and somewhere else, didn't quite work, comes back to Los Angeles where they're living. He's there with his wife played by Katie Holmes, and decides to take on the case, much against his sort of better judgment. He has no interest in it, but then finds, because of the fact of that his family also comes from Austria, his grandparents were from there, and he knows of that sort of things, finds that there is this sort of connection to it with himself as well, and decides to take on the case. Here's a clip.
Here she is. My aunt, Adele. My uncle commissioned Gustav Klimt to paint her.
That's quite a painting.
It's magnificent. She was taken off the walls of our home by the Nazis. And since then, she's been hanging in the Belvedere Gallery in Vienna.
And now you'd like to be reunited.
Wouldn't that be lovely?
Make you a rich woman, I'm sure.
Do you think that's what this is about? No, I have to do what I can to keep these memories alive. Because people forget, you see. Especially the young. And then, of course, there's justice.
So, here's the thing with this. I mean, the thing that was surprising is that when I saw this, it was quite a mixed audience, quite a lot mature audience, as you might kind of expect this, because it is Helen Mirren. I forgot to say, you heard in that clip there, who plays Maria Altman, who is the main character who is pursuing this. It also has scenes where it has flashbacks which reveal the issues that she had, and then her sort of fleeing Austria at the time, with her played by Tatiana Maslany, who you may recognise if you've watched the BBC drama Orphan Black. And the thing is, it's quite well handled, it's quite well done. It does feel a bit overly long, and it's not an overly long film, it's not 2 hours long, but it feels as if it could have maybe done with a little bit of sort of tightening up at certain points. But the thing is, it is a film that it's not necessarily a cinematic film, but it does very well with what it's got, and it's good drama. You have I didn't know anything about the story. I didn't know anything of obviously, then other than the obvious thing of the Nazis and the occupation, and it was an interesting watch for something which has possibly been covered in films before, but I found that I got into it. I found it engrossing. I really found that I got interested in the characters, and I kind of wanted to know more about it by the end of the film, and that's a success. I think the performance in there is very good. Ryan Reynolds he's not coasting, but he's not doing anything special. It is an average performance. It is a kind of a TV performance. Helen Mirren is good in it, but she does have this thing of that whenever she's in a film like 100-Foot Journey as well, where she has to do an accent, she doesn't really sound as if she's really giving it her all. She doesn't really sound as if she's trying to work on it that much. You have in there as well, mixed in the small role for Daniel Bruhl, who is very good in that, and also has a moment to shine, which I kind of it's supposed to be sort of a revealing thing about his character, but I found that really predictable, I have to say. But I mean, it may be that it's true. I don't know how faithful it being to the events. And you also have in there Katie Holmes. I said, but Katie Holmes is basically playing a very, very minimal supporting role, and doesn't really have a lot to do. It's a very thankless role, probably one that was just pay the bills and that'll do. But there's nothing wrong with that in this film, and I found it's not, I wouldn't say charming, but it's a worthwhile watch for less than a couple of hours time, and I found it thoroughly enjoyable.
Right, final film, Good Kill. It's directed and written by Andrew Niccol, who wrote Gattaca and The Truman Show, and he also directed films like Lord of War and a movie that you really like, In Time.
And The Host as well, because I do like Andrew Niccol.
Yeah,
I was waiting on you saying something about that.
I hated The Host. I despise that movie. But it's a good job that this is actually miles better than The Host, because The Host was the last film he did prior to Good Kill. So it's well done to him for going flip-flopping, going from something that's atrociously awful to something that's actually not too bad. And in this instance, he's got Ethan Hawke to play Tom Egan, he's based in Las Vegas with his wife, who's played by January Jones, in sort of like a very much, again, Edward Scissorhands housing area, because it is perfectly situated just outside of the base where he works. But it's very clean and everything's perfect. The grass looks like it's painted every single day rather than it just being natural grass. And so he plays a fighter pilot. He was originally a fighter pilot, but now he controls a drone for around about 12 hours a day, very much like the kind of thing that you will find in a Call of Duty game or a video game of that ilk. And he comes to terms with what he has to do, but he has questions about what he is actually doing. Because like I said, for the 12 hours a day, he needs to keep an eye on this drone that's going over Taliban areas and ultimately just kill people from where he's sitting. So he never gets involved with it up close and personal. He gets involved with it from the comfortableness of the chair that he's in and the few people who are in the area where he's at. And so the film just centres around how one person's psyche and life and how much something like this, the job that he's doing, impacts him mentally, even majorly mentally in the film. Because what he wants to do, he wants to get out of this chair and he wants to be responsible for what he is doing by becoming a proper pilot. He mentions that to the heads of the place where he works, but they always keep on rejecting him everywhere. And so it gets to him more and more what he's having to do is wrong, and it gets even worse when the heads decide to change things up a little bit and they have to go with what the CIA say instead of what they went by, which is their instincts. They have to, when the CIA go, you need to kill this group of people here, wait for people to go and rescue some of the bodies that might be alive and then kill them just in case. And so that pushes him much further on the edge. And when he gets back to his normal life, his life with his wife is just, it's fragmented and fractured and broken. And Andrew Niccol seems to be able to explore the characters that really well. The film lacks any kind of tension, in my opinion, because the scenes themselves where he does have to blow up the Taliban areas or kill a few people, they become very monotonous, and so they just become, you sort of like become desensitized to what he's doing. When he first does the first kill, it's quite shocking. But after that, because it's exactly the same thing over and over again, just a little bit changing each time, it just you just think it's starting to lack something, and it's starting to become repetitive and monotonous, and that's the negative of the film. It becomes too monotonous. It's only until near the end of the film where he has become properly fractured, and unfortunately what Nickel decides to do is try to make it into a happy ending, which he shouldn't have. He should have left it the way it looked like it was leading up to. So it's a good film. However, it should have been much better than what it was. It's a million times better than The Host, though.
I still haven't seen it. I want to see it, but I especially want to see it because I do like Andrew Niccol. So I'm glad to hear you like it more than The Host, but I don't know if we will, because we have different views on Andrew Niccol's films, I think.
Yeah, the Host is atrocious. It's not his best stuff, because I think
it's not his best one, but it's not as atrocious, I think, as you make it out to be.
No, The Host is really horribly horrible. But the best work I think he's ever done is The Truman Show. I adore that movie, and Gattaca as well. I really like Gattaca. But this is nowhere near that there, but it's nowhere near as bad as The Host. That's it for the cinema section of the show. We'll be back in a moment with the DVD and Blu-ray section.
There was a real sense of you were doing something wrong, but that did give it that feeling of excitement.
When the reveal of the film happens, that's when it just becomes absurd.
And the atmosphere and just the sense you get whenever you go into it is undeniable.
It did absolutely zero for me, which could be for the hype.
What we've just discussed there is just scratching the surface on it.
Hi, I'm Eric England, the director of Contracted, and you're listening to From Page to Screen, the horror show.
Hello and welcome back to this week's Monday Movie Show, to the home release on DVD and Blu-ray, which we'll be going through a look at the UK DVD and Blu-ray top 10 and then these new releases.
Yeah, a bit of a quieter week when it comes to the DVD and Blu-ray releases, because we've only had 5 films, and they are Night at the Museum 3, The Signal, What We Do in the Shadows, The Pyramid, and Black Sea.
Yep, before that, let's go into the UK DVD and Blu-ray top 10, which does have a surprising mix-up at the top of the chart, but we'll get to that eventually when we start at number 10 with The Maze Runner.
Yeah, not too bad movie, much better than a lot of these cookie-cutter, sort of like Hunger Games-esque kind of films. It holds its own, at least. It's better than Insurgent, which I was... considering I was a big Divergent fan, and this is it's not average, it's better than average. Insurgent is below average, so this is better than that.
Number 9 is Lego Batman Justice League vs Bizarro.
Probably one of those supermarket £5 DVDs at the checkout thing.
Yeah, I don't really get the Lego Batman animation things. I get them in the games, but I don't get them in the actual animations. Number 8 is Fury.
Yeah, which you know my problems with Fury. It's just too clean cut and too much of a perfect war film rather than a grimy, gritty war film where it's attempting to be like that.
Number 7 is Gone Girl.
We said everything we can about Gone Girl. Lose the last 25 minutes of it and you would have made a much better film.
Would you believe it? We've still not spoiled it.
Nope.
Number 6 is Penguins of Madagascar.
With those little fluffy bonbons. I love that joke at the start. And that's the funniest thing of the film. Even though the film itself is still entertaining, the funniest bit is I was going to say Lars von Trier. You can just imagine if Lars von Trier did the opening bit. It's Werner Herzog, but you can just imagine. Yeesh, it would be dark. But
I think maybe the bit falling from the plane I found particularly humorous.
No, I think the Werner Herzog with the little fluffy bonbons.
Gunter, give them a click, give them a push.
Yeah, just doing his best David Attenborough thing. I think that was the funniest thing of the film.
I think they even made the animation look like him, didn't they?
Yeah.
Number 5 is The Imitation Game.
Very well acted by Benedict Cumberbatch, finding out about how the Enigma code was cracked and how it actually affected the people's lives who were involved with the Enigma code.
And number 4, still after last week, no change, is The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1.
Not as bad as we originally made it out to be. It's a much more interesting film on second viewing because then you realise it's more about the politics rather than what you were expecting from it, which people were probably expecting a big action film if you've not read any of the Hunger Game books. If you have, then you know how the final Mockingjay book goes. So you probably expected it to be a bit lackluster in the areas of big explosions. But it is slightly more interesting than we made it out to be.
The only new entry in this week's chart, at number 3, Predestination.
Well done for it to go that high as well. It definitely deserves it because it's an intellectual, interesting science fiction film with Ethan Hawke in it. So it's very good. I really enjoyed this film.
I did as well, and I think it's as much as one of those films that is about time travel and convoluted. It's not hard to follow. It's quite still, as much as it does deal with all that, it does it in a way that's very well enough that by the end of the film you understand what's just been going on.
Yeah.
Number 2, big shake up with things in the 2 and 1 positions. And number 2, dropping down from last week's number 1, Interstellar.
Yeah, it's a really good film. I have a problem with the daughter father relationship in the movie. It's not as believable as it makes it out to be. And the last 20 minutes of the film, it's another one of those films which suffers with the last 20 minutes. But it's still a very interesting, very beautiful film to look at times. An interesting use of sound. At times it gets spot on with the lack of sound to build up tension, but at times it feels it's still a really interesting sound mix. So the film itself is not Christopher Nolan's best, but it's still really interesting.
I'm looking forward to when I get, because I'm between moving and my sound equipment has all been sort of taken apart at the moment. But I'm really looking forward to, because I still haven't got this yet on Blu-ray, but getting this and watching it and having the sound on to really take advantage of that. And I because it was a good sound mix in the cinema, but I think it was very, depending on where you saw it, I don't think that the audio was necessarily calibrated the best in some cinemas.
Yeah.
Which means the number 1, going back up to the number 1 spot, is Paddington.
Yeah, which I love this film. It's a perfect family film. It is a proper old school family adventure movie, reminding you of if you grew up in the 80s when you watched things like Home Alone and Flight of the Navigator and things like that. These kind of movies where you wanted to sit around with your family and enjoyed what you were watching rather than having been spoon-fed Little House on the Prairie or The Waltons.
Yep, it's a really nicely done and a great film for all ages as well, which is a rare thing too.
Yeah.
Okay, so as we've only got 5 films to go through in the cinema, in the DVD section this week, go straight into the first one, which is Night at the Museum: Secret of the Tomb. It is the 3rd movie in the series, also directed by Sean Levy, who did the first 2 films. It is the return of Ben Stiller's character Larry Daly, who has been sort of made a night guard at the Museum of Natural History in New York. Things sort of, if you're not aware of the other films, where have you been? But what happens is there is a magic tablet there which brings all the statues and everything to life overnight, and then at dawn they all turn back to statues. The whole thing has been made this sort of big successful PR thing, and as a result of this happening now, the museum is opened at night to people who go around, and it's kind of like become this sort of big interactive thing that people think is all sort of animatronics and that kind of things and holograms and such, without realizing that there is this thing of this magic tablet that's bringing it all to life, which it turns out is having problems because of the fact that it's actually starting to change from being gold into some kind of rotted material, which is affecting the power, affecting the way it works. And so Larry has to get help from the I forget the name of it, the pharaoh that's the person who is there, and figure out how to save this and how to stop things from getting worse, which means travelling across the world to the UK, to the Natural History Museum in London, because that's where his parents are also entombed, and so the magic will bring them to life and be able to sort of fix the tablet. We don't have a clip for this because all the clips released this film were very small clips and weren't really good for sound, just you need to see them. But the thing is with this, I've got the first 2 films, I've seen them. Second one's not as good as the first one, but there is a magic to it. It is a kids film, it's a fun film, it's fun and funny. It is Ben Stiller doing the typical Ben Stiller thing that he used to do. It's a little bit annoying in that respect, but the thing is that it is the last film to have Robin Williams in it playing the statue of Teddy Roosevelt that comes to life. It is a movie which sort of has a few twists and turns in it which are nice and enjoyable, but the thing is it is a charming kind of it's one of these things that you watch it and you remember why you like this kind of film, why some of them are good, why they're not all terrible, and it's a fun, and the thing is, it's a nice kind of goodbye to the series. Hopefully it is the last one. They're not going to do any more. We never know, they probably will, but the thing is, like, the one thing I would say is that's really annoying. You have, like, Rebel Wilson turns up at one point as a guard in London at the London Museum. Completely unnecessary. Really didn't feel that worked at all. I guess she's been sitting there, so if they do have any future ones, they won't have to get Ben Stiller. They'll get her instead. But I really didn't get into that much. So one thing I would say as well, Dan Stevens pops up as Sir Lancelot, who is really good in it, and I really like him in it. I thought he was great in it. Ben Kingsley has a small appearance in it, and it's, as I say, perfectly fine, enjoyable. It's a nice kind of goodbye as well to Robin Williams, because it's quite sad, obviously, him passing as well, and it's a film that is enjoyable, and it's kind of a nice, worthwhile seeing. If you like the first two, you'll like this one.
I've not seen any of them.
I don't know. I mean, I'm curious to see what you think. If you saw this one, you wouldn't necessarily get everything about it, but there's it references jokes from the first two as well, which is what's nice about it. It's not just doing the same thing; it is trying to do something different. And it's has a story of things needing to be sorted out. So it's not just doing the sequel that's again the whole thing. It actually just trying to do some things. Some things don't work, some things do, but I basically was not bored with it. I enjoyed it. It was nothing special, but it was nice to see the ending of it.
Yeah, to be honest, I have no intentions of actually sitting down with them, because when I watched the first trailer for the first film, it didn't grab me. I thought this is a bit of a sort of like a knockoff of The Mummy meets The Relic, and that sort of didn't interest me. That amalgamation of those two, it just felt like, I can't be bothered with this. And then the sequel was released, and I thought, should I actually watch the first one? No. Then National Treasures came out, and that one's been done to death on TV.
I wouldn't say Mummy meets The Relic. I'd say Mummy meets Jumanji.
That doesn't actually install any confidence in me neither. Even though I quite like Jumanji, The Mummy I stopped liking after the first film, so I think a lot of people did. But yeah, I don't have any intentions, to be honest, of watching any of the films.
Maybe you'll catch the first one someday when it's on repeated on television. You'll end up sitting and you go, you know what, not bad, and maybe you'll be interested in seeing the others. Yeah,
maybe the Night of the Museum might actually be the National Treasures, because the BBC are obsessed with repeating those two films, so they might as well just change tact a little bit and go with Night of the Museum instead. Mm-hmm. Never know. Right, next up is The Signal. It's a science fiction film directed by William Eubank, and it centres around three friends of Nick, Jonah and Haley, played by Brendan Thwaites, Olivia Cook, and can't remember who plays the third one. I haven't wrote his name down. I've wrote Lawrence Fishburne's name down, but I haven't wrote the other person's name down.
I can't help you there.
Yeah, which is brilliant. But they're on a road trip to California. They stop off at a hotel where they're constantly getting sent emails from a hacker, which they previously known as Nomad. And so they decide to try and track this hacker down. They discover an abandoned house in the middle of the Nevada desert where they track Nomad down, and so they investigate that. However, Nick starts to hear screams and shouts from his two friends from outside. On investigating it, his two friends is being kidnapped, and then he wakes up in a white room being questioned by Lawrence Fishburne's character. Here's a clip.
Can you speak?
Where am I? I can't move.
Can you tell me your name?
Nicholas Eastman.
I'm Damon. Dr. Wallace Damon. I'm heading up the transition team that's going to help you, help all of us understand exactly what you've been through.
What are you talking about?
Can you recall for me the first time you encountered the signal?
there, Lawrence Fishburne's character who plays Dr. Wallace, Damon, he explains to them that actually his friends weren't properly kidnapped. They were involved in an EBE, or an extraterrestrial biological entity. I write that down, but I don't write the actor name down. Brilliant, eh? And so the rest of the film starts to take a weird turn because it's him trying to figure out what's going on, about what's happening to him, specifically also about what's happening to his friends, and then a lot of strange stuff occurs. The less you know about the strange stuff, the better, because it's always interesting when you watch these kind of science fiction films to learn about that stuff yourself rather than being told about it. And the movie is one of those movies where you have to concentrate. It isn't one of those films where you might think, oh, it's a quiet little lull. There's only a tiny little bit of conversation here. I can make myself a cup of tea and come back and still be up to track of what's going on. That's not the case. It is a movie where you have to concentrate because there's a lot going on. There's chases happening. There's other things. And so I like films when they're brave enough to do this kind of thing, especially science fiction movies, because an intelligent science fiction movie, when it works, it makes you feel like you've earned what the film is trying to bring across, what it's trying to say, rather than you just sitting there and just going, yeah, okay, you've made this convoluted, over-the-top complex, and it's boring. But it never bores you because there's enough to interest you there. The characters are really interesting. You want to follow what's going on. You're wondering what's up with Lawrence Fishburne's character. Could there be something else wrong with him? Or is he just a scientist who's there to try and help them? So it's all about questions which you want to ask throughout the film, which you hopefully gets answered. And so movies which do that are more interesting to me, and this film is a very interesting. It'll make a bit of a head scratcher along with Predestination if you watch this as a double bill,
Yeah.
But it's a very intelligent double bill of science fiction films. You might as well throw Interstellar in there and have a sore bum at the end of like 6-7 hours of films. But it is one where you're going to come out of it and feel yourself a really intelligent person after watching 3 intelligent science fiction films.
Okay, so What We Do in the Shadows, which is basically a spoof documentary. It is an Australian film, which is it's a spoof of the documentaries you get when people go along, film crews there filming something. What it turns out that the film crew is filming in this occasion is a group of vampires. You have the 3 vampires played by Jermaine Clement, Taika Waititi, and Jonathan Breaux, who play Vladislav, Viago, and Deacon, all living in a house. There's also another one played called Peter, and there's basically the group of them there just going about their everyday normal things while they're being sort of filmed by this film crew and interviewed, and catching them sort of going about their everyday, including things like when they bump into a pack of werewolves out in the street one night. Here's a clip.
I can smell werewolves.
We were just about to walk past a werewolf, so some might go down.
Look out, guys. Don't catch fleas. What's that, mate? Sorry, what?
Keep going, keep walking,
What?
keep
We heard that,
walking.
mate. We've got sensitive hearing. Have you? Yeah. What are you filming? It's a music video, is it?
We don't want any trouble.
Well, I do. Why did you start it? Have I got your heckles up, huh? Why don't you girls smell your own crotches, huh? Come on.
What are you talking about? We don't smell our own crotches. We smell each other's crotches, and it's a form of greeting.
You're on camera,
Yeah.
mate. Don't do
What?
it.
It's okay because I know this guy. It's Count Fagula.
Hey, don't swear.
Sorry, they
Yeah, we're
I'm very-
werewolves.
Not swear.
What are we?
Werewolves, not swear. Take it.
No, it's
It's a very offensive word to call people.
Well, unless you're talking about a bundle of sticks. Chase this bundle of sticks. Werewolves? Don't get it.
It's not real.
Nathan, it's not.
So here's the thing with What We Do in the Shadows. It's from the guys, I think, who did the Flight of the Conchords, which I never got into, never watched. So it's not the kind of thing like that I can say whether or not it's very similar to that. What I can say is that there are some moments in this that are not laugh out loud, but they're earned laughs. It does make you laugh. It makes you giggle a lot. There's some nice ideas. There's sort of great moments where the 3 of them are sort of infighting with each other, and it turns, where you normally have 3 friends who are fighting and they just end up, slapping each other or something. They turn into full-on vampire, and fangs are out and everything like that, and that kind of, but humorously, and it's that kind of thing. So I mean, it's the kind of thing that if you like that sort of weird oddball spoof of the typical kind of things like that, like a documentary, then you'll probably find this will crack you up and be worth seeing. It did make me laugh. I did enjoy it. I did get into it, and I had fun time. It's not long. It's only an hour and 20 odd minutes, so it's worth seeing if you like that kind of offbeat comedy.
Next review is The Pyramid. It's directed by Gregory Levasseur. It's produced by Alexandre Aja. So you might get a feeling of what the film is like. It centres around a team of US archaeologists who were sent to Egypt because a pyramid has been discovered. However, a pyramid that's slightly different to what the normal ones that you normally expect. This one's a 3-sided pyramid, and it seems to be buried underground. And so upon investigating the pyramid, they discover that ghoulish things are going on, and they were warned by a videotape from the original scientist who went down there. Here's a clip.
My name is Dr. Miles Holden, and I was a professor at Princeton University. I am trapped in the excavation site with my daughter, Dr. Nora Holden, and cameraman Terry Fitzsimmons. And we need help. This pyramid, unlike any other structure I've ever encountered, seems to have been built with the express purpose of keeping whatever is inside from escaping. If you come down here, bring guns.
And so you can obviously guess what's going to happen next. They get trapped inside of the pyramid and they need to try and find a way out. However, the thing that the scientist was alluding to in the warning message might still be there inside the pyramid. Yeah, the movie is silly and stupid. When I went to see this at the cinema, the people who were in the screening of me were laughing more than jumping because there is no scares in the film at all. The CGI is awful. I'm sick of horror films relying heavily on CGI to get scares. It doesn't work. It doesn't work at all. Practical effects is the best thing you can use in a horror movie to get a scare. Not the quiet bang. Sometimes that does work, so you can go to that maybe as a last resort. Never use CGI, and in this one they go way too over the top with it, especially the big reveal of the film. The reason why they're trapped in this pyramid, or what the pyramid could be, the secret that it's keeping inside there. The big reveal, it just made me go, you know what, if I wasn't reviewing this film, I'm going to walk out right now. Because it is that ridiculous, it is silly, and I'm a huge Egyptologist fan. I love anything to do with Egyptian culture or pyramids and things like that. But even that made me just question why the director decided to go down that route. It's not scary, it's boring as a horror film. It treads exactly the same ground we've seen multiple times before. It tries to be like films like The Descent, with its claustrophobic feel, but it feels. It even tries to be like a movie that was released a couple of months prior to it, As Above, So Below, which was a French film set in the catacombs about the Philosopher's Stones. And that one was a much interesting film, a much more darker film, because it didn't rely stupidly on their CGI special effects, and so it's terrible. Just avoid it. Go watch As Above, So Below, and watch The Descent, a million times better.
Okay, the last release this week we're going through is Black Sea, which is directed by Kevin MacDonald. It is a film which is centering around the character of Captain Robinson, played by Jude Law, who has found himself on hard times. He and everyone, sort of people he knows who work in sort of the industry of salvage, have found themselves unemployed, finding hard to get work. Puts together a crew of people because he's found where there is supposedly this sub that has crashed on the ocean floor from World War II, and old U-boats that's sank and containing a large collection of gold. He puts together a group including several people. You have Scoot McNairy in there, you have Ben Mendelsohn, you have I don't actually know who the name now. I've lost the name here. Sorry. They're basically a crew of sort of 12 people or so. What they need to run this old sub that they've got hold of, so they can get down there, get divers out there, get the gold, and basically strike it rich. Here's a clip.
We're anywhere from here to here.
Which means we are on one of these two ridges, or we'd be crushed, right? If we're on this ridge, we must be right next to the U-boat now. This submarine was based on the U-boat design.
So if we find a U-boat
We get in there and we take the drive shaft.
Been in the water for 70 years. Useless now.
No, the Black Sea's anoxic at depth. No oxygen. No decay. There's perfectly preserved Roman galleons out there.
So that's after, but that clip you heard there is after they've had issues and the ship is then finding itself next to the ship, but on the ocean floor without a rudder. So they decide they have to go to the ship whether or not they were going to or not, because they need to get the parts from it so they can then fix their own ship. And as you can imagine from there, things don't go the best they possibly could. It is a film that's kind of one of these disaster films, and the thing is, there's nothing wrong with that. It's perfectly fine. It's enjoyable. I found it actually quite engrossing. Not brilliant, but it definitely passed time and did more than was required for it to do so. It's just under 2 hours long, so it's not overly long film. The one thing people may have issues with, and you heard in that clip there, is Jude Law's accent in the film. Now, I live in Scotland. He's playing someone who is from, I think it's from Dundee. I'm not sure if it's Dundee or Aberdeen, I think. But he's playing someone in the film who is from there, and he's using that accent he's got there. I didn't have a problem with the accent, but a lot of people have. So that may be something to consider if you're going to see it. But the thing is, it's a perfectly fine. It looks good. It was saying about having issues with things looking CGI, and then the best thing to go is practical effects. As far as I can tell, from the majority of the things in this film, it's all practical, and it looks it. The set looks great. The set production's great. The scenes underwater look great. It's very nicely filmed and nicely done, and it's got tension. There's genuine tension in the scenes. So I think it ticks all the boxes and does what's required of it. So if you're looking for a good thriller and you like submarine films, then you do well to check this one out.
I haven't seen a good submarine thriller film for quite a while. I can't remember. There was a horror film that I saw which was set in a submarine. Can't remember the name of it. It wasn't that one with David Duchovny in it. It was quite a few years ago, and I think that was the last film that I saw that was set in a submarine that had any decent tension in it. So I might give this a watch, because I like movies where they're set in confined spaces when it does rely heavily on tension. I like those kind of movies. Yeah,
it definitely has that in spades. It's because obviously the crew of the men there find themselves sort of start infighting and working between them, and against each other, and it starts to build, and that's what you need is a well set up, well placed sort of tension of the characters, and that's what it focuses on.
Yeah, I should have probably watched that after I watched things like Hot Tub Time Machine 2 and Paul Blart Mall Cop 2, because as I said on the horror show that I did, of the last 10 films that I've watched, I put a little score beside them just for the end of the show stuff. I've given, out of a possible 100, I've given a score of 36. Out of 100, sure, that shows you how bad the films that I've seen over the last 10 movies. The highest one is Fast and Furious 7, which I gave a 7 to. But yeah, I should have watched this, and maybe it might have helped the score rise just that little bit higher after seeing Hot Tub Time Machine 2 and Paul Blart Mall Cop 2.
Yeah, I think you got the raw end of the stick this week.
Definitely the raw end of the stick.
Okay, before we start rounding up the show, TV movies of the week.
Well, I've only got one, surprisingly.
Okay, I've got two.
And you've mentioned the one already that I've got.
Have I? Okay,
Tonight
so
show
what's the one
somewhere.
you got then?
It's on Channel 4, not Film 4, on Saturday the 18th at 11:40 in Fear, surprisingly, when you were reviewing Lost River. Ian DeCasticker, him.
Yeah.
Ian DeCasticker, that's him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a film where it only has 3 actors in it, and predominantly 2 people. It just centres around a couple who decide to go off to a music festival, but spend one night at a hotel where it's being booked, where it's sort of like a romantic time out. However, things start to spiral out of control. It's sort of like very much similar to the movie Dead End. And they start to get chased, and they discover what's going on. And it's a really well-made, small British film which heavily relies on just a couple of people. It has a problem with the camera, because the camera is all over the place at times and never concentrates on specific scenes. But it's still a very good thriller, 90-minute thriller.
When's that on again? Channel 4?
Channel 4, Saturday the 18th at 11:40.
Okay, the two that I've got is Wednesday night. So if you're listening live tomorrow night, 9 o'clock on Film 4, The Sweeney, which I'm not sure if this might actually be the premiere of this.
Yeah, it's the remake. The remake one.
Yes, the remake. Yeah, it's the one with Ray Winston and Plan B in it.
Yeah.
Plan B giving a good performance in it. It's not a performance film though; it is an action film. But it's nice to see a British film made for. It is something like £10 million, something ridiculous for what it does. So it's nice to see a good action film that's in London as well, or UK set, and is giving the US films a run for their money. The other one I've got is on Thursday, the 16th, at 9 o'clock again on Film 4, and that's Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, which is another great. It's not British, but it's not as British set, but it's not British made. But it is a fantastic, great British drama with a great cast, including sort of in the lead Gary Oldman. So if you're not sure if on either of them, if you've not seen either of them, check them out if you like sort of decent gritty films, because they're not the typical kind of things you get in British made films.
Yeah, and you'll be pleased to know there isn't a Studio Ghibli film on this week, so that was the reason why I didn't choose one of those movies. As a matter of fact, I had a bit of a trouble in choosing a film because it's a bit of a lackluster week when it comes to decent films on TV.
I think they're giving it a bit of a break intentionally after having had all of the ones that have been on. How many did they have on during the festival season that they had?
24 films from Studio
like
Ghibli,
that,
which is nearly every single one of them, apart from the last Studio Ghibli film which was released, and the up-and-coming one. So The Tale of Princess Kaguya wasn't part of it, and When Marnie Was There. And that was my Studio Ghibli bit of the week. I can manage to get that into the show every single week somewhere.
I'm just going to edit it out somehow. I don't know.
You can't. We're live. You're gonna have to think next week of what you can actually start bringing into the show that you're obsessed with, and just slightly slip it into somewhere every single week.
I'm not really obsessed with one particular thing though. Bond films, Spectre.
We'll see. Next week I'll be looking at a film called The 10 That Dreaded Sunrise and Sundown. Sorry, and considering it's a horror film, I'll try and find some place to put Ghibli in there somewhere.
Yeah. That'll be interesting. Before we finish the show with a clip of an upcoming film, which some of you may have heard of, some shout-outs as usual. You have followingthenerd.com, who... Are they on this week?
Yes.
They are. So you'll be on there doing the UK Box Office Top 10 there as well.
Yes.
And
video game news.
And video game news as well. Wow.
Because I do video game news now, because normally they used to ask me if you got any movie news, and I've decided to go, no, I'm doing video game stuff now because they don't cover video games. So I just thought, why not?
Okay. And also, as you heard during the advert there, you got FromPageToScreen.com, which is the number 2 in the middle. But you can also find us again on places. You've got mondaymovieshow.co.uk. You can email us mondaymovieshow@yahoo.com. You can find us on Twitter @mondaymovieshow, and you can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/mondaymovieshow. We're also on Podkicker. We're now on iTunes, so feel free to go on there, find us on there, and give us some feedback on them, or email us, as I said, on that address to give us any feedback. We will now bid you adieu and good night. Until next week, when probably Monday, I think we're back to. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Yeah, we'll see. But playing you out with a clip because coming out very shortly, you may have heard of a little Marvel film called Avengers: Age of Ultron. Now, we normally play a film of the week, before the week comes out, but it's interesting because Avengers: Age of Ultron is getting an early UK release, a week ahead of America. We're getting it on the 23rd, which is next Thursday. But you can see it on the Wednesday night preview showing. They're doing midnight showings in a lot of places, and hopefully I should be going to that.
Before you play the clip, London critics have already seen the film, and early indications are saying that the film is astonishing. So
I'm
that's
expecting something like that along those lines. It's a long film as well. It's almost 2 hours. It's only about a minute longer than the other ones, but it's a long film.
Yeah, longer, nearly 3 hours, not 2 hours. 2 hours is not long.
Yeah, no, sorry, nearly 3 hours. Yeah, just about as long as this show has been going on. So we're going to leave it. No, actually, not that long tonight, have we?
No,
not a lot to get through tonight. So we're going to say goodbye. We will leave you with a clip, as I say, of Avengers: Age of Ultron, which comes out in a week and a bit. As That's the 23rd. Yes. I'm losing my mind now. I'm going to go.
I have
need
tickets
sleep.
already.
I don't, but I need sleep. I'm going now. Okay. Bye bye.
This could have been avoided if you hadn't played with something you don't
I'm
understand.
I'm sorry. It is funny. It's a hoot that you don't get why we need this.
Tony, maybe this might not be the time.
Really? That's it. You just roll over, show your belly every time somebody snarls.
Only when I've created a murder bot.
We didn't. We weren't even close. Were we close to an interface?
Well, you did something right. And you did it right here. The Avengers were supposed to be different than She.
Anybody remember when I carried a nuke through a wormhole?
No, it's never come up.
Save New York?
Never heard that.
Recall that? A hostile alien army came charging through a hole in space. We're standing 300 feet below it.
We're the Avengers. We can bust arms dealers all the livelong day, but that up there, that's the end game. How are you guys planning on beating that? Together.